And hello everybody, I am the Heroscaper, back after a very long break. I was out of town doing many things, but fortunately I came home and discovered some goodies waiting for me. None other than Heroscape Wave 3, so generously sent to me from Renegade. So starting off, we are going to open up the first army expansion, which is the Knight Primus, Aldeburn, and Ordo Borealis. It's a bunch of bears. You know, you gotta have the more bears here. And let us dive right into it. Reminder that, you know, use a safety knife when using these things. It'd be terrible if someone tried to open these things with a machete. Not that I'm calling anyone out, but let's dive into these and see what they have to offer. So first off, you have to be impressed with the sheer size of these figures. Pulling up, we got Aldeburn right here. Just a absolute beast of a unit. I really admire his pose. It's a very dynamic pose. Once again, they are kind of unprimed, but they do have this wash applied to them, which works really great for you just want to get them on the battlefield and still can see definition, all those awesome details. All right, then we got the Harpoon Bears, the Ordo Borealis. Observe here, I love these lenticular little devices they have in their heads. We're gonna definitely go do some painting tutorials on how to make these really glow and really stand out on these models. I love these models more than the Frost Claws. They're a lot more simpler, a lot less kind of like tight spaces, you know, in the armpits, and less armor, so you can really kind of let that fur shine through as well. So I'm really excited to get some paint on these guys. They're appropriately big for size comparison, since have some nearby. Here's a Frost Claw I painted, so appropriately scaled. This one's standing up more straight, but same size. And then let's compare little Aldeburn with Irene. So you can tell that they're similarly sized. The leader bears are the big ones, and the smaller bears are the minions. So I like that there's some size dimorphism there between the squads and the heroes. Really makes them kind of stand apart. Continuing on with breaking my figures and get some more out of the package here. We got Harpoon Bear number 2. You know, most Heroscape figures actually don't show the ammo being loaded into the weapons, so I love that we get to see the harpoons and the actual arrows sticking out. Yeah, great model as well. I'm gonna have to decide which one's my favorite. So far, this one is in the lead, but we got last one right here with it on its shoulder. Now, the sculpt is my favorite in terms of will I like to paint this one the most. We'll have to see. It's a tie between these two guys. They're all very unique, but very similar. So you can tell they're in a squad, but they all have some personality attached to them. So I admire that. I like this. The sculpting alone for, you know, this new Heroscape is just so impressive. I'm just so amazed by all the little details. It's honestly, that's why I opt to get the Unpainted, just because you get to see all this little stuff, the bolts, the rivets. You really can tell that they spent a lot of love and time on the texture and the general feel of the model. So we got those guys right here. And let's check out the cards. Making sure I didn't miss anything. It seems like the Ordo don't have wound markers like the Necrotech did, but that was honestly just because they had to put markers in, I assume, so might as well just help you out. No big deal. You should have a healthy supply of wounds. If not, you know, get yourself another master set, I guess. But you should be good regardless if you have the master set to get those planned. So we have Knight Primus Aldeburn. This guy is going to be an absolute menace on the battlefield. First off, just with him being Jandar champion, bonds with the Frost Claws, also bonds with the Death Chasers because of his wild personality. So I foresee this guy filling in kind of that niche and newscape with Knight Grimnat kind of filled. Like, he's just a heavy hitter, but he's not double space and he doesn't offer as much protection. So he's a little bit more versatile. Also, he has a lot more life. With 8 life, any 8 life creature is going to stay around a bit, even if they have like 2 or 3 defense. So he has Crushing Blow. After moving and before attacking, you can inflict 1 wound on a small or medium squad figure, or a small or medium common hero adjacent to Knight Primus Aldeburn. So that's a really potent power. Anytime you can inflict auto wounds or auto destruction, it automatically elevates you know, the usability of a unit, just because Heroscape is a dice game. Anytime you can guarantee instant success, you have 100% probability. You know, you just have to do the work of getting him there. But with that 8 life and 3 defense, like, he's going to get into battle and do damage. He doesn't hindered by his run ability as well, so he has just flat 6 move, attack of 5. So we finally have just a very strong can opener for the Bears, and a decent points of 150. Honestly, I'm sort of shocked that the thing with this stats this heavy is priced so well. My favorite aesthetic details are its, you know, it's kind of hungry armor plate. You know, it looks like it's just an angry maw, and just again, that posing is really interesting. One of my new favorite figures, my brother-in-law plays the polar bears a lot, and he has been waiting for these guys to come out to run a full Frosty Bear army. All right, next up we have the Ordo Borealis. Very simple units. We have the reload ability. If an Ordo Borealis does not move on its turn, it can add 6 to its range value for the rest of that turn. That's pretty significant because it's not a power that comes into play often. Ultimately, not moving gives you 1 more to your threat range, not counting height or movement ability. It's really great to get these guys set up, and you can just kind of fire away. It's a very unique variation of Wait Then Fire, where you don't have that large amount of stacks. Again, these guys are 2 life, 4 defense, and 3 attack. So that's a really hardy ranged opposition right there. Now you can get up on a hilltop, and with height and further enhancements from like Concan or Raylan, Classic can really make these guys pretty indomitable. A Grimnag can't attack them with their with his big chomp attack because they're large. Large prohibits a lot of auto attack wound abilities from many hero and squad units. So it does give them even more sturdy staying power. They have that move of 5, so very good average move. A life of 2 with 3 main squads, so ultimately 6 lives, all for 110 points. So, you know, if you have 110 points, they can slot into any army very well, or they can add some nice range component to a Knight Corps army. You know, you can work these guys in with their Dupius, however you say his name. I'm gonna get people mad at me about that. Concan is an easy add for these guys as he boosts their attack and defense. First ranged Knight squad we have ultimately, so that's a very big win for classic units. You can also boost these guys up with spirits. You know, add Thorgrim or Finn to these guys, so then you're attacking with range with 4 or defending with 5. So these guys are hardy, and I don't know if they're meta defining, but man, they're going to be a lot of fun, and I think they're just going to round out the Polar Bear Knight army. Starting up next, something I'm familiar with is the Hellforge. One of my favorite units. I actually made a tutorial on how to paint this thing come time, you know, when you finally get it in your hands. So definitely check the Renegade channel or link below in the description on how to get this thing painted. But it is an awesome unit. It's just fun. It's a fun thematic unit. I like when a unit can use its sculpt to really tell a story with both its abilities and just its presence. So again, opening this up here. I love the artwork for this one. This one's got very just kind of just good art. I love the Eisnick arts. So this is just one box with one big unit. You know, it just pulls out. I honestly hope Renegade does more kind of single big unit box for a somewhat affordable price of 20 bucks, you know, $25. You cannot go wrong with just kind of getting that. I honestly hope we get more of this kind of stuff. And it's just an absolute delight to see this guy. You know, you can paint this the bright yellow, as is the classic, but there's so much detail and colorization you can really add to these guys. You can paint them every color of the rainbow. Just a really great sculpt here. It's got just the Raging Inferno, claws. This honestly sculpt is probably the most dynamic, and I'm ultimately impressed that they were able to squeeze this all into one base. I think that is the highlight of this unit, really stretching the the usage of the base here. I can see why they didn't make it a double spaced, as that makes this thing actually better. This is one of the few units that would be better double spaced. But let's look at the card here before I spill all my coffee at me. This stream is sponsored by coffee. All right, so I like how we get little Ziploc baggies for the cards. I don't know, it's just kind of gives me something to put all my random stuff in when I'm cleaning. So we have the Hellforge Manticore. Now, I don't know if Manticore is his name, or is his title, or is his species. Very much like the Grinch in this, that it's one or all of those. So we have Blast Furnace 15. During Hellforge Manticore's turn, before moving with it, and each time it moves onto a space during this movement, you must roll the 20-sided die, once for each figure adjacent to Hellforge. If you roll a 15 or higher, that figure receives 1 wound. Figures with a lava-resistant special power are not affected by Blast Furnace. Hellforge cannot roll for Blast Furnace against the same figure more than once per turn. So this is a very similar figure to a VC custom unit called Avernus, which is a giant fire elemental, but it's designed to work in kind of a core army instead of some other variations that the Avernus is using. It also has the Feed the Forge 15. If a figure destructible object adjacent to Hellforge is destroyed, you may roll the 20-sided die. Add 8 to the roll if the figure is an Eisenach, Solborg, or destructible object. If you roll a 15 or higher, you may remove a wound marker from this card. So that anytime you have the ability to self-heal, even if it's on killing another unit, is always a powerful utility, and it's not limited once per turn. So you can Feed the Forge, Blast Furnace, and attack. So you have multiple chances, depending on how you set up, to heal yourself. So that's for the 6 life and the 4 defense. If you play this guy right, can await for wounded people or against kind of, you know, weak Solborg armies. Like this guy eats sniper cores for breakfast, you know, like the Omnicrons. If you can get through the rat's defense, you know, that's great, because you just are adding that 8 to that roll. So you just need a 7 or higher. You know, wounds are so particular. There's not a lot of healing in Heroscape, so it's great whenever a unit has that built in. And then furthermore, it has Eisenach Advance. At the start of each round, after all order markers have been placed, if all your order markers are placed on Eisenach army cards, you may move Hellforge up to 4 spaces. Hellforge must end this movement on an empty space. So this is the start of the round. So you can, this is kind of like the Death Chasers, you know, that rush they get at the beginning of the game, except you can do it every round if you place your order markers correctly. You know, it doesn't seem like much for spaces, but when you have a 1-range creature that needs to get into engagement, this is really just helping that utility even more, and also just gives you a reason to draft it with Eisenachs. I love when cards kind of give you some motivation to include them all in the same army, so it's just a great little addition. Again, look at the stats, it's Devour, so you can try some wacky stuff with Dumatef guards. I don't think it'll work. I think most likely you'll just end up killing your guards, but I'm sure there's some people out there theory crafting, trying to get that together. I would love to see this thing in a Devour core army with other Devours. They're kind of a fun class, but they're not very cohesive. But it has the menacing ability, which doesn't have any utility. And the Eisenach tie-in also works with the Iron Lich. So you can activate this thing and the Iron Lich, bringing a lot of firepower once your necrotax kind of are diminished. in that army. It's a huge 9. It's just a big old boy. It's got the 4s, move 4, attack 4, defense 4. So it's got limited move. You know, it's a bit slower on the battlefield, so you really got to use that Eisenach advance. This is a thing that can really benefit from Rhodes as well as Elgrim, because in each space you get a move, you get to burn more. So it's definitely something to think about. Sometimes it's worth taking that leave an engagement attack to heal yourself. Moving on, the grand finale, we have, who do we have here? We have Sonlin and Helucia, Sign of the Wild. You know, I know a lot of the Heroscape names, but with all these new names, I really gotta constantly be paying attention, especially since a lot of the Arboreous creatures have similar sounding names. You know, next year we'll be getting the Helushot and Marishot, or they're just names that are phonetically similar intentionally. I'm just dumping all this out here. Look at this guy. I've been really excited to see this sculpt in person. So we have Helucia, the Lorax on a horse. Essentially, I love this thing. We have just the wood grain on the shield. We have various kind of ridged details on the spine. Look at the card art. I can't really tell if it's supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be like wood plating kind of built into them, so that's really cool. Just a wicked blade. Really, really cool figure. Like, this is going to be one that you can really come alive with some painting on this. This thing is going to be really fun. I'm really looking forward to getting some paint on this guy. And yeah, it's very, very interesting. It has smooth horse legs, so, you know, it's, I'll have to see if this thing is good for speed paint. It might actually be more better for typical paint if people are looking to do that. But just the detail and the texture on this is absolutely great. We got the pointed ears, the small divots in this thing. Definitely try not to overprime this guy, because you hate to lose any of these details. And it looks like the bases are a bit sturdier than I've seen from some other units. So yeah, really impressed with this guy. This guy gives me, I don't have him nearby, but Brunak vibes. And then we got the thing I never thought I'd see. You know, the end of the HasLab ultimately resulted in my dreams for an elf riding a dragon in this manner, being dashed, but boy, here it is now. What a time to be alive. New year, new Sonlin. That's how the saying goes. But in terms of the aesthetics of it, I just love the scale details, the veins on the wings, and it just feels like a different, so I love the design of this. It's kind of got this like hunter stalker prey. It doesn't feel like as intelligent per se as, like, you know, the carrion dragons of old. It's just got this very unique stature about it. Now, here's the thing. Canonically, Sonlin's dragon is red, but I am halfway tempted to paint this dragon green, just because Sonlin loves green. Just because Ular loves green, you know, I might have a variation where I kind of paint this thing like a dark green and yellow-green highlights, because I think it would look really cool against the cloak. Now, Sonlin himself has got an upgrade. You know, you always get an upgrade if your cloak gets horns on it. That's that's rule number 1. It's kind of an interesting cloak. I honestly would like to see Sonlin without riding the dragon, kind of how it appears in contrast against classic. But he definitely has that same vibe. I do wish there was some kind of rein for him to hold on to, or some kind of like stirrup or something, you know, something kind of hold, because it's a little hard to imagine that he flies around like this all the time, but it's still a really great unit. His staff has got an upgrade. It looks like it's a bit of rigatoni on there now. It sounds like I'm teasing this thing, but I really am in love with it. Just the cloak is a very interesting billow. I'm actually interested how they kind of sculpted and put that together. This will be a fun one. This is a bit of a project just because there's lots of different colors and details and textures to work together. But this is also one that is going to look really great painted. I think all these units, you know, the pre-painted look great, but they have a potential for just really cool sculpts and paints. I'm excited to see the community's kind of look on these. And as always, let me go through the cards. I'm just happy Oler got some units. I was worried that he was dead. I guess he's poisoned canonically now, so he's almost there, but he gets a few units in while he figured himself out. So we have Sonlin, a reminder that you can't have multiples of the same unit in an army. So if you have a card that's called Sonlin, you can't have 2 Sonlins unless you're playing at home and you choose not to ignore the rules. I'm not going to stop you. Or maybe I will. Who knows? Maybe I'll burst through the rafters and say illegal, but probably not, because that's a lot of work. So he's an elf, so he gets elf utility from, they have a lot of built-in utility from like things like Arcmor. You can include Arcmor to boost your defense, or you just have him next to Quintella, although that's not very easy to orchestrate for that extra defense as well. He gives defense to Arcmor rather, and Quintella gives him defense. Yeah, if he was a wizard, he would be pretty cool, but unless he is an Archmage, an Archmage is not a wizard, as much as you want it to be. So he's kind of just this unit you'd slot in, and he fills his role in his army, but his class doesn't add much to the mix until they do something that says wizards and Archmages you control. Here's hoping. He's a confident, and he's a large 7, so he's a bit bigger than like the Templar or some other appropriately mounted things. He has Healing Wing 13. After moving normally with Sonlin, you can choose a figure with 1 or more wounds that is adjacent to Sonlin, or that he passed over during his movement this turn and roll the 20-sided die. If you roll a 13 or higher, remove 1 wound marker from that figure. So he sacrifices a bit of that ranged utility of healing, more for an easier to get healing that he can do while moving. So I don't know. I think the 13 is significant, 15% easier to get than the 16. So that should be proccing off a little over 50%, a little bit less than 50% of the time, but it's not as ideal. And he also can't heal himself anymore. So that's a big detriment to Sonlin. I'm kind of disappointed that he is less viable as kind of a tricky healer, but he's still got it built in and it's easy to use. And honestly, he's kind of dropped from a healer that's more just of an add-on. And with his next ability, Dragon Assault, when Sonlin attacks an adjacent figure or destructible object, he can attack 1 additional time. If Sonlin uses flying special power this turn, roll 1 additional combat die in the first attack. So he's a lot more just frontal assaulter. He can go in and, if he gets height on a figure with, flying 6, he can attack with 6 and then do an attack of 5, which will rip a lot of things apart. He's kind of a specialist now in his role. Before he was kind of a utilitarian. The loss of auto wounds again is tough, but he has move 6, range 6, attack 4, defense 3. So you kind of want to use this guy as like a striker, imagine, kind of hit with his hard attacks and then fly in, heal, and then just rip something to shreds without being surrounded, because that defense 3 will go down pretty easily. Yeah, this is also another unit that could be really well boosted. You could kind of use this as I think a mid-game figure is his best spot. After you kind of cleared out some ranks, just kind of heal your units and bring him in. I don't know, I haven't figured out the best way to use this guy, but you can also use him as kind of a ranged missile with the flag bearer, the Oler flag bearer, Acrola, however you say his name, and fly in with an attack of 8 and rip things apart. So it's a unique thing. Also, Dragon Assault, if you kill a creature, you can then attack with range. Because you aren't limited to attacking the same figure. So if you get out of engagement after your first attack, you can make a ranged attack. So there's some versatility there. You want to play this guy really cautiously, I believe. I have yet to play him, so I'm going to definitely see if I find any more fun strategies with this guy. but you know, a threat range of 12 is nothing to laugh at. With a heavy range attack and kind of a meta without a lot of range, I could see him doing some pretty significant stuff against bears or against like the pirates, just kind of rip them apart, kill key figures. But 170 points is a lot to invest in an army. So he's a very a unit you have to play pretty tactfully, I believe. And then we have Helucia, Scion of the Wild. He is another Dryan wizard, so he does get that wizard utility from all the familiars that, you know, we have Anshu and Kita and Chana I'll be releasing, and whatever else that's coming out. So whenever you get to take a turn, 2 turns and a turn, always great. I've heard these guys called as Pokemon trainers, and I really like that. You have to kind of treat them like that, where you want as many little beasts in your army as possible to get a lot of little utility. So he has that command familiar. He's ferocious, not a tag that adds lots of things to it. Dryans are kind of good add-ons to an army. Just, you know, you have them and a familiar. You can kind of fill a lot of little roles in an army. He has command familiar. After revealing an order marker on Helucia, Sign of the Wild, you may take a turn with a small or medium beast you control. Rouse the Glade. Figures adjacent to the tree or bush roll 1 fewer combat die when defending against Helucia's attack. So with the glut of trees available now, you know, this is a lot more of a versatile power. And I notice it doesn't say jungle tree. I assume those both are counted as the same, any tree or any bush. I'll have to ask some rules people about that, or see some similar. I have to look up the Quasatch Hunters to see kind of how the text works in that regard. Yeah, I call this guy the Lorax. He speaks for the trees for sure. Ride by special attack. This is probably his most interesting faucet here. Instead of moving and attacking normally, with Helucia, you can move him up to 4 spaces. He can attack up to 3 times with Ride by special attack at any point before, during, or after this move, as long as he's on a space where he can end his movement. He can attack the same figure more than once in a single turn with Ride by special attack, and he's never attacked with leaving engagement. So this is a power that's jam-packed with lots of little things. So first off, he gets to attack 3 times, can't attack the same figure, and also gives some temporary disengagement, albeit a lesser move. So you could use this ability and not attack at all, because it says you may attack or can attack up to 3 times at any point. So if you just need to disengage to get a better spot, you can still use this ability and attack as many times as needed. So he's got a built-in kind of disengage, which is always a very powerful ability, but it's negated by the fact that you can only move 4 spaces. And so this guy can really clean out, like pirates probably fear this guy. You know, low defense, high attack units, because he can just go through and kill a whole squad or almost a whole squad in a turn. 3 attacks of 3 with that versatility of movement is hard to work around. You can also kind of be used as a person to hit and run. You know, 4 spaces isn't enough to put him too far away, but you could run in, attack someone, and then move back if need be. Like, let's say it's on lava or something else like in that situation. Yeah, there's a lot of utility here that really makes him worthwhile. And he's got the stats to back up this very in your face kind of running around kind of utility here, as he has move 7, life 7, so really hardy. I like that these heroes are starting to feel a bit more hardy, won't get taken down by, you know, a bunch of guys with muskets in 1 turn. Attack 5, so we have another strong attack, which is some things we're kind of lacking up until this point. We're lacking some very strong attackers, apart from like Sergeant Drake, and you know, just flat stats, not like requiring boost or elevation. Just attack 5 will typically get through most of things of 2 or 3 on average. You know, so you have a pretty reliable way to kill lower defense units. And defensive 3, while low, it has the life to match up. At least gives him some staying power. Pretty decent 120 points, you know, so he He doesn't have range, but has the ability to move pretty far. So I like this unit. And you can take 3 attacks in a turn and take a turn with another unit. Yeah, he's lots of things he can do. So I'm really excited to try him out. He's probably the highlight of this wave. And there you have it. I'm gonna show all the units on the screen real fast here while we close out. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm definitely gonna be working on painting these and getting some tutorials ready for those that are coming out. So if you have any questions about these units or any comments, be sure to let me know. I'm definitely excited to get some paint on these and really work on getting those tutorials ready and more escape tutorials as well. So if you haven't, be sure to subscribe. You can order these units using the affiliate link down below if you want to help support the channel at no additional cost to you. These units will be released come February, so get that pre-order now if you want to get your hands on these pretty cool units. And for lack of things to say, I hope you all have a great day and keep scaping on. Bye.